Today I'm going to be learning more about Norway and doing so by watching this video. It's called Things I Do Differently Since I Moved to Norway. So I enjoy watching videos like this and seeing how people from other countries, seeing how they react to moving to another country. In this case, what they do differently. I'm from Scotland. I've lived in Asia for over 10 years, lived in China, Thailand, Malaysia, and I've had to change the way I live and change the way I do things when I move to these different countries, just to be to kind of ingrain myself in the culture of each of these countries. So looking forward to seeing how people change when they move to Norway. Tell me what you think about this video.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know this already, my name is Mon. I am Portuguese, but I currently live in Norway, in Oslo to be more specific. On today's video I'm going to be talking about things I do differently since I moved to Norway. So things I've changed in my life or things I didn't do before and now I do. Things like that. The first thing I'm going to talk about is something I started to do differently since very early, and that's I now take my shoes when I get home. I know this is something very normal in many countries, but in Portugal this is not normal at all. I would never take off my shoes when entering my own home or someone else's home. I would just keep the shoes I have and go in like I'm on the street. Since I moved to Norway, I get home, I take off my shoes at the entrance, and I have this little bench with like a shelf under where I can put my shoes, my street shoes in, and then I put some like house slippers or something like that. This also happens if I'm going to visit a friend or if I just go to someone else's home. I expect to do the same thing. So you really have to be careful with your socks here in Norway, because you can't have holes or just like, you know, strange socks. Another thing that it was...
Yeah, tell me if you agree with that. I feel like that's what I've learned about Norway, other northern European countries. Wearing shoes inside is just not acceptable. In the UK it's probably similar to Portugal, where people will just wear shoes in the house. Obviously if they're muddy or dirty they'll just leave them at the door, but it's not like a very strict thing to do. Here in Asia it's unbelievably strict. Not one time will anybody wear a shoe inside the house. It's almost like illegal to do that. It seems like similar in Norway. Does anybody ever wear shoes in the house in Norway?
Was a bit different for me, and now I do it all the time, is drinking tap water. Norway has the best tap water you could ever imagine. Actually, the water Voss, which is quite expensive in many countries, they say it's actually Norwegian tap water. So if you come to Norway, do not buy a Voss water bottle, just go to a tap and drink water, because it will be the same. One thing
Yeah, this is actually very similar in Scotland as well. Like, Scottish tap water is better than most bottled water. You can drink bottled water and you can drink tap water in Scotland. The tap water will just taste so much fresher and cleaner. I guess it's the same in Norway as well. So tell me if you've been to any other countries where that's not the case. Here in Malaysia you cannot drink tap water. It's just not recommended. A lot of people say it can make you sick and things like that. So it's something I really appreciate, being Scottish, to have clean tap water. Do you appreciate that as well, being Norwegian?
I stopped completely doing is buying bottled water, like in the supermarket or in the stores, because first, it's not so common to see in the supermarket selling in a bottle, like in a big bottle. If you do see it, it's quite expensive, so there's no point. Another thing that changed massively in my life is that I stopped taking the transports. I now use my bike. Well, not in winter when it's tons of snow, although many people do use their bikes with snow, but I don't. But the rest of the year I only use my bike to move around Oslo. I cycle everywhere and it's really nice. And this brings me to the
Is that
other
the same
point,
for you?
which is I started using a bike seat in winter. So here it's quite cold in winter. Even though it's not snowing, it can be very cold or humid, and when you go and sit on your bike and your seat is like freezing cold, it's not the best, you know, feeling, and it's also not very healthy, especially for the ladies. So now I use a wool cover to cover my seat so I sit on top of the wool.
I don't
which
think
is
I've even
nice,
seen a wool cover
fluffy,
before for a
and
bike.
warm. A big massive change that happened in my routine was I started to eat early meals. Here in Norway, you start to eat lunch and dinner quite early in the day. Some people start eating lunch at 11 o'clock in the morning. I normally do it at 11:30, maybe noon. And in Portugal, the normal thing would be maybe 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Same thing with dinner. Now I start to eat dinner at around 6, maybe 6:30. And in Portugal, it would be at maybe 8 or 9. Some people even do it later on. At the beginning, I wasn't very into this change. I really like the eating hours in Portugal. But with time, I realized that it's actually really good because you don't go to bed with a full tummy. You sleep a lot better, and it's also a little bit better for your digestion if you do it earlier. Next thing is...
Yeah, that one I definitely agree with. Again, I think in the UK it's very similar to Norway. We eat usually about 5:30, 6. In Asia it's completely different. It's later, it's about 7 or 8, but it's more because people usually work longer hours. They work maybe 10, 11 hours a day. Because of the traffic, they won't get back home until 7 or 8, so they won't be able to eat. And generally the diet is not very healthy. So definitely the Norwegian way seems like more what I would appreciate.
Is that I now rarely have like physical money with me. I don't have coins. I just use the card for everything. Here in Norway, you can use the card even if it's just €1 or 50 cents or 20 cents. In this case, like imagine 10 kroner or less. You can always pay with the card. So I don't need like physical money for anything. Another thing is that...
Yeah, tell me if you agree. Is that the same for you? Do you use cash ever? Is Norway moving to a more cashless society? I know they're trying to like implement that in a lot of countries. Here in Malaysia, they're kind of moving towards that. They use card a lot, but they also use e-wallets, things on your phone to pay for things more often than cash. I rarely carry cash now as well. What do you think about that? I know that in the UK, a lot of people are complaining that they want to keep cash. They're stuck in their ways. But for me, I think just move towards cashless. It's just easier.
That I started taking vitamins. In Portugal, when you're a kid, at least when I was a kid, my mom would give us óleo de fígado bacalhau. I'm not sure how this is called in English, but it's like cod olive oil or something like this, which was disgusting, but
cod
when
liver
I
oil,
was a
is
kid
it?
I would take that. Now in Norway I take so many vitamins. I take vitamin C, vitamin D, I sometimes take multivitamins. They also have some kind of the same thing we had in Portugal. Everyone here does it as well, like a routine, especially in wintertime. One thing
Is that
I
also true
started
for you?
doing, and at the beginning was so weird for me that people would do this, and now I just think it's the best thing ever, is that I have office shoes. So it's like when you're at home and you change from your outside shoes to like slippers. In the office you can do kind of the same thing. You leave your outside shoes at the entrance of the office and change to inner shoes or office shoes. Some Norwegians have the most ridiculous shoes or socks. Some people use like really thick wool socks. Yeah, so at the beginning it was very strange, but now I just feel it's the best thing ever.
That's a good idea.
Another
I never
thing
heard
that is
before.
quite big here in Norway, and I also started doing it, is buying secondhand things. And this can be furniture, clothes, electronics, anything you can think of. There's a website here in Norway called finn.no, which is basically an eBay. I don't want to say an eBay, but it's like a page you can go to and people can put things selling and you can buy. And it could be objects, jobs, even apartments, you know, like they have everything. But the objects part is what I'm talking about. So you can go there and buy a whole sofa, or you can have the sofa for free in some instances because people just don't want the sofa anymore, and instead of, you know, throwing it out to the garbage, they put it on the side, and if you are interested you just can go there and pick it up and, you know, take it for free. Many times now when we want to buy something, before buying it, we go to this website and make sure we can find it there for a cheaper price, even if it's second-handed. Things on the website are amazing, like they don't seem second-handed, most of things. They are very well treated and in a very good shape, so it's amazing how many things we have here at home which cost nothing, they were free, or they were like super cheap and they look much more expensive because they are second-handed. And to end this video,
yeah, tell me if you've used that website before. Tell me if that's the same sort of mentality you have as well. It's like, I think that's actually a great mentality, very responsible, good for things like the environment, good to recycle. I've not really seen anything like that. Of course, we've seen like eBay and things in other countries, but that one sounds a bit better because, you know, like, seems like the products she's buying are good quality, which is important. Sometimes you buy things on eBay, it might not be the best if it's second hand, but I think that's a great idea and it's good. It just shows the responsible nature of Norwegians, I think.
the last thing I started doing differently is I now try to give people space to talk because in Portugal it's very normal that you interrupt one another when you're speaking, and people normally don't get so offended. It's something that you do without thinking and it's not a problem. But here in Norway I realized very fast that people like to talk and then stop, and then you talk and then you stop, and then another person, you know, and a Norwegian would rarely interrupt you while you're talking. So if you keep talking, then only you will be talking. So that's something I take into more consideration. Since I'm here, I'll just, you know, try to let other people talk and don't interrupt them. That was all for this video.
Yeah, I think that's really like the best way to be, because when I'm talking or when someone's talking, I hate to interrupt them. I always feel like rude if I interrupt them. I guess it's maybe just the way I've been brought up, but I really like, I will always wait till someone finishes speaking, even if there's like an awkward silence at the end, just to make sure I'm not interrupting them. I feel like really bad if I do, and can get a bit awkward otherwise. But yeah, really interesting list. It's pretty cool. Again, like I really enjoy watching these types of videos and really learning more about Norwegian lifestyle. So tell me if you agree with all of them. Tell me if there's any other interesting things that you think I should learn about. Thanks.